In 2015, the BBC released a film called Grand Theft Auto: The Gamechangers. The overall reception of this British docudrama was mixed. 9 years later, it now currently sits at 33% on Rotten Tomatoes and 6.3 out of 10 on IMDb. Now what's interesting about this film is that Take-Two Interactive, Rockstar's parent company, filed a lawsuit on behalf of Rockstar Games against the BBC for alleged trademark infringement. This was done after multiple unsuccessful attempts at contacting the BBC to find a resolution. Now ultimately the issue was settled privately, though given Rockstar's aggressive response to the content of the film, it's safe to assume they're probably still not too fond of it to this day. Whoever at the time was in control of the official Rockstar Games Twitter account even made a post saying, "Was Basil Brush busy? What exactly is this random made-up bollocks?" Apparently this is Basil Brush, some kind of British nightmare fuel shown to the lesser fortunate kids who don't have access to anything good on TV. Although Rockstar Games claimed to have filed the lawsuit in an effort to protect their trademarks, I think it more had to do with how this cinematic oddity portrayed not only Rockstar as a company, but also their employees and co-founders, including Sam and Dan Houser. So what gives? Why did Rockstar Games' Jimmies get so rustled by this? Well, I guess there's only one way to find out. Let's watch The Gamechangers. This is gonna be bad. The film begins just as you'd expect. The year is 2002 and Harry Potter's eating cereal. Played by Daniel Radcliffe, Sam Houser intensely watches news coverage of the release of Grand Theft Auto Vice City. The film then describes itself as being based on a true story, seconds before clarifying, okay, we did take some creative liberties with this one. Seems promising. Showing up at the Rockstar Games New York office, Sam meets Terry Donovan, one of the co-founders of the company. Concerned about the competitive pressure from EA, Sam makes it clear that whatever game they make next has to be absolutely massive. The other team members are skeptical due to the overbearing deadlines coming from Take-Two Interactive, as well as Rockstar's currently existing revolving door of employees. There's also some reluctancy in making a GTA game about LA gangs, seeing as how Sam and company are Brits, and really the only way they've ever seen LA gang culture is as depicted in cinema and fiction, not in real life. Meanwhile, in Jasper, Alabama, Devin Moore, played by Tabo Ramezzi, is seen in an almost zombified state while he plays GTA Vice City. Back in the Big Apple, Sam and Dan Houser are discussing the upcoming plans for GTA San Andreas. Dan suggests having a black protagonist, and Sam agrees. And then we get this exchange.
Can you have a black lead in the game? Has anyone done that?
No. We will.
I'm far from an expert on video game representation, but I'm pretty sure by the year 2002, there had been at least a video game with a black lead.
Could we get Samuel L. Jackson?
Okay, I like Samuel L. Jackson, I really do, but like, you might as well just go like, oh yeah, black lead, I love Will Smith. Over in Alabama, Devin gets arrested by a pair of cops after being caught driving a stolen car. Taken to the station for questioning, Devin, now detached from reality by the evil mind control of Vice City, or whatever else this scene is attempting to imply, grabs a hold of a cop's gun and takes out 2 police officers along with a dispatcher before making his escape and stealing a police car that apparently was just parked with the keys in the ignition for some fucking reason. Over at the Jack Thompson residence, yes, that Jack Thompson, Jack's son, Johnny, played by Gary and Dowds, seen wearing something closely resembling the white polo shirt in Bully, mentions having lacrosse practice later. Jack Thompson, played by the late great Bill Paxton, is distracted by an article covering the events that took place the night before. Speaking to Devin Moore, who's now in jail, Jack asks him about a comment Devin made about how, quote, life is like a video game and we all die someday. I'm 14 and this is deep. Back at home, Jack has an interesting back and forth with his wife Patricia about what caused Devin to do what he did. Patricia being played by Fiona Ramsey.
I just don't believe he would have killed those men if he hadn't spent hours a day practicing doing exactly the same thing in that cop killer game.
You know, maybe it's just me, but I don't blame the video game the person played. I blame the person who did the bad thing. And beyond that, if we're gonna talk about why they did it, I guess ultimately it's up for speculation, but you know, you could look at actual factors that contribute to violent crime like lack of social and economic mobility, high crime rates, poverty, underfunded education, substance abuse, a crumbling infrastructure, and most notably, a severe lack of mental health care funding. I would argue that if a person is so easily influenced by a video game or movie that they somehow turn violent because of it, then it's not the video game or the film that's at fault, it's the dangerous impressionability of the person that enabled them to do what they did. And it seems like Patricia is at least somewhat on my side on this one.
You don't know it was the game made him act that way.
But it was the game. We're raising a generation of kids steeped in sex and violence, and no one's doing anything about it.
Yeah, because every time we try to fund something like mental health care, rich douchebags like Jack Thompson stand in the way of that. You can't have it both ways. You can't demand that we do something about it and then argue against investing in society doing something about it. On a lighter note, Sam and company have now traveled to LA so that they can get an idea of what the environment is like. Sticking out like a bunch of sore white English thumbs, it doesn't take long before they get approached by some locals.
I'll decide when I'm gonna be cool. Who are you?
I'm DJ Dog from South Park, man. These fellas are just here.
Fortunately, the tour guide manages to defuse the situation by saying this.
These fellas are just here doing research on a game. They make Grand Theft Auto.
Yo, I love that game. I'm playing for hours. Yo, tell them I'm playing for hours. Don't I play for hours? Yeah, man.
Sometime later, Sam and the gang are now brainstorming some ideas for the dating aspect of San Andreas. You know, simple stuff like taking CJ's girlfriend Denise on dates and giving her flowers and, this.
And I want a proper sex scene this time round, but a full-on sex scene. If you treat Denise right, she'll have sex with you. It's only fair.
Sam then emails somebody over at the Rockstar Games New York office about his very specific and explicit ideas. Speaking to the families of Devin's victims, Jack and another attorney reveal their plans to argue in court that Devin did what he did because of the violent content of Vice City. Simply put, he became desensitized and encouraged to become violent. Although skeptical, the family members agree to Jack's plan to hold Rockstar Games accountable in a court of law, promising them a big compensation. How big, you may ask?
600 million.
Jack Thompson then sits down and plays GTA Vice City by himself, wasting NPCs, and probably having at least a little bit of fun.
It's not what it looks like.
Jack then travels to recruit a couple so-called experts to testify in court, a neuroscientist who studies the effects on the brain from being shown violent imagery from movies, and some military dude who trains soldiers by having them sit down and play first-person shooters. Tax dollars well spent.
This sex scene in San Andreas, it's gotta be good.
You know, I think I'm starting to understand why the Hauser brothers found this film so annoying. Sam Hauser, throughout a good chunk of this story, has this weird obsession with including sex scenes in San Andreas. Like, he's really adamant about it. In actuality, we don't know who came up with the hot coffee idea or to what extent they pushed it. Putting all of this on Sam Hauser just feels kinda cheap and dishonest.
I know, but it's really important for the vibe of the game.
I mean, is it really though?
Whatever, just make it fucking good.
Alright, fine, Jesus Christ. And thus, the Rockstar Games developers work long and hard, veins pulsating, sweat dripping as they pleasure Sam Hauser by coding and animating some steaming hot biped-on-biped action. Sometime later, the Rockstar New York team is gathered around a TV watching as Jack Thompson makes his appearance on 60 Minutes. Sam, angered by being blamed for what Devin Moore did, makes it clear that Rockstar makes entertainment, not murder simulators, and that they should not be scapegoated for society failing Devin and his victims. Most of the team seem to be on the same page, though Jamie King, VP of Development, played by Joe Dempsey, suggests toning down some of the violence, at least with regards to shooting cops in the game. But Sam says nay, for he is based, and he's having none of this shit.
Hello?
I'm gonna kill you fuckers.
Oops, wrong number. Because of Jack's crusade against video games, the Thompson residence is now getting threats from the Reddit army. What's more, Jack's son, Johnny, yeah, remember him? Well, he's now being socially ostracized and bullied by his fellow lacrosse players. Damn. Who knew jocks could be such bullies? Jamie, exhausted by Sam's constant demands, pressure from the media, and the sheer weight of the game, is seriously at his fucking limit. In response, Sam does this. Okay. Back from Bulworth Academy, Jack's son comes home in a sour mood.
Hi, honey, good game?
Excuse me? Jack asks his son what's wrong. Having an actual brain in his head, Jack's son reminds him that not every kid who plays GTA is gonna turn out to be a violent psychopath.
I won't let him be bullied. I'll go to the school.
I'll kill them all. Back in New York City, Sam is given two options. Either remove hot coffee from the game, or get an adults-only rating, thus preventing the game from being sold in about 80% of stores. Vexed, to say the least, Sam goes off on a rant.
What's wrong with this country? I can walk down the road and get an Uzi if I want to. They're sending kids off to kill people in Iraq, and heaven for fucking bid anyone sees a woman's nipple.
Honestly, it's moments like these when you tend to forget that you're watching what is essentially a smear of Rockstar Games. Radcliffe's performance in these more emotional scenes is commendable and actually really good. Eventually, Sam gives in. The only problem is that the game is close to finished. After spending the day with his wife and genuinely enjoying himself, Jack then spends the remainder of the evening trolling the law firm representing Take-Two Interactive.
You okay?
Doing battle, honey. Doing battle.
They see me rolling, they hate it.
As a consequence of this, as well as Jack's many questionable appearances on TV, Jack's team expresses concern over him quite possibly putting the case in jeopardy, making outlandish comments, sending aggressive emails to Take-Two, and even comparing the sale of GTA to Pearl Harbor. Yes, he did in fact make that comparison in real life. Jack is beginning to realize that for him to come off as a morally superior person in court, he has to actually conduct himself in that way. It's not enough to just say you're a better person, you actually have to be a better person. And the judge is having none of this, so Jack is off the case. Learning absolutely nothing from this, Jack goes home to resume his trolling campaign. The case is then dismissed because, well, I mean, if we're gonna be honest, Jackass and his crew really had nothing.
Case dismissed. That's outrageous.
Not only that, but the Take-Two Interactive Defense Squad is now gearing up to try and get Jack disbarred from practicing law. Something to do with the whole sending harassing emails to Take-Two Interactive and calling them and their subsidiaries sociopathic criminals. Yeah, this is why you don't say anything until after you win the case. Finally being able to work on the game in peace, well, as much peace as a video game development studio can get during crunch time, Sam, Dan, and the rest of the mystery gang resume work on San Andreas. Finally, the game is coming together, and it seems as though our sex scene-obsessed protagonist is finally enjoying himself. Not like that, it's a joke, YouTube, it's a joke. I don't think he's doing anything untoward to himself. At least I hope not. Sometime later, the game is now finished and released to critical acclaim. Meanwhile, in Holland, another lost soul is corrupted by the evil mind control of GTA. I really have no idea what these kind of scenes are meant to convey. I mean, outside of just like, oh yeah, they're really into the game. Is that it? Because the way this is edited gives me the impression that there's some kind of like hallucinatory mind control thing going on. Deciding to mod the game, Patrick Wildenborg, played by Gideon Lombard, manages to find the unused code for the hot coffee minigame. Like I said, the game was close to finished, so the way by which Rockstar removed it from the game was just by making the code unused. So technically it still exists in the game, it's just not used unless you go into the files and enable it. What could go wrong? And so a huge fucking catastrophe begins.
I prayed for something like this.
What? Suffice it to say, the ESRB are not too happy about this either. It is worth noting that this is arguably the most accurate thing ever depicted in the film. And it's still not all that accurate. Rockstar is sweating bullets, the development team's morale has tanked, Patrick is getting swarmed by the news media, and Jack Thompson now has something to use against Take-Two in a court of law. Rockstar puts the blame on Patrick, Patrick puts the blame on Rockstar, and Terry Donovan is now telling half-truths about whether or not hot coffee was a part of the game's code in the first place. Like I said, this is not really all that accurate. In fact, Terry Donovan, to my knowledge, never made any public statements about any of this.
Hello? One moment, please. It's Hillary Clinton.
Don't answer it! Something that I find kind of funny about this is how the only real appearance we ever get of Hillary is a framed picture of her in this one scene and then some news footage near the end. You have fucking Harry Potter playing Sam Hauser. Could you not just find a Hillary Clinton lookalike? Leading the charge of the lamest protest ever, Jack spots Sam outside of the Rockstar headquarters. Sam Houser, unable to handle the pressure, takes off and basically just leaves his entire team hanging. Until, like, 45 seconds later. Which I guess kind of makes that whole part meaningless. Come to think of it, why is that in the film? It doesn't add anything to the story. He just takes off and then comes back. Tensions are high and fingers are being pointed. Fortunately, cooler heads prevail and the team manages to keep their focus on dealing with the situation at hand, one step at a time. Now, despite this, Sam is looking increasingly more haggard and everyone around him is growing concerned. He's become an emotionally unstable mess.
Does he realise how fucking untalented he is? Or does he wake up in the morning going, fuck, I'm not that talented, or is he oblivious to his own shitness?
Kinda sounds like the average Redditor talking about my YouTube channel. And it doesn't seem like Jack Thompson is doing much better. Both Sam and Jack are now facing their own respective lists of charges.
Your Honor, the real fact of the matter is, these people don't like me.
They started it! In the end, Jack gets disbarred, and Rockstar Games now has to, submit the content they make for approval before releasing it? Huh. So, I guess we have somewhat of a happy ending.
That's it?
Yeah, Jack Thompson got pwned, Sam Houser managed to talk his way out of catching any charges, Hillary Clinton continues to feed on the blood of the living, and subsequently, over the span of a couple decades, we continue to get a wide array of incredible games. Quite a few of them being GTA 5 re-releases, but hey, you know, Rockstar Games is still alive and kicking, so that's nice.
What did I win?
The internet. And despite Jamie King leaving Rockstar Games, he encourages Sam to keep leading the company and not give up. And so, Sam takes Jamie's advice to heart, and then he steals a car? Fucking excuse me? He then runs over a bunch of pedestrians and gets pursued by the police. And then it ends. No, I'm not even joking, like, it just ends like that. He kills a bunch of people, and then it just fucking ends. The film then covers its ass by saying there's still no conclusive evidence that video games make people violent. Oh my god, movie, we gotta talk. So there you have it. 2015's The Gamechangers, also known as Rockstar Games. I think my main gripe with this film has to do with the portrayal of Rockstar's co-founders, Sam Houser especially. Although plenty of research was obviously done on some of the controversies depicted, mostly on the side of Jack Thompson, the way Sam Houser is shown as an emotionally unstable, tantrum-throwing, salacious man-child is frankly distasteful and downright bizarre. Hiding behind a piece of text on a blank screen saying, oh yeah, we took some creative liberties, doesn't make it okay to misrepresent someone. It really is no wonder that Rockstar's own Twitter page described it as being made-up bollocks. If there's one thing I have to give the filmmakers props for though, it's the cinematography and editing. Some of the scenes are even shot from the perspective of the same third-person camera angle from GTA. It really is a good-looking film, and you can tell that a lot of effort and money was put into this, but at the end of the day, it's an over-the-top exaggeration of the history of the studio. I don't think good editing and excellent camera work can somehow magically save a bad script. If you wrote a bad film and you filmed it with cool shots, it's a bad film with cool shots. Nothing more, nothing less. I think casting Radcliffe as Sam Houser was a strange choice, though he actually does put on a respectable performance. Having all of that said, I give this film 15 out of 100 bean colas. If nothing else, it at least maintained my attention. Anyway, that's it for this video. You folks, as always, stay classy. Peace.
If you play violent video games, you will go to hell. I'm just kidding.